Hey everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of Fast Charging with B&B. I'm Brian. He says that, but I just don't know whether or not to believe him. Nah, I'm just kidding. There's no Bear this week due to a scheduling conflict. Bear is unfortunately in prison for not showing up to this live stream. We were going to pre-tape it last week, but we ran out of ability to do that in terms of our scheduling as well. So this will probably be going up on the main channel as a condensed version, since it's basically a news roundup. Yeah, why not? And if you're watching this today, awesome. Thanks for joining in on the chat. Hello, Paul. Hello, John. Hello, everybody. Matt. Yeah, everybody. Who is this? Yes, I see you. And if you're catching this on the replay, go over to my second channel maybe and subscribe, because I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize. Oh, it's killing me. Let's get into the news. Oh, did you know that there are times when, due to time of use charging prices, time of use electricity usage, you can pay a negative amount to charge your car? Yeah, when the grid has too much power, and they've got to get rid of the juice, they can either, there's curtailment ways they can use, which is basically sparking it up into the air or grounding it into the, ground, or they can just pay you to take it, which is actually cheaper and better. Because they know that giving it to you for nothing, for less than nothing, means you won't need to use it later. So that actually helps during peak times. That's cool. Norway wants people to park their EVs and ride the bus. After years of pushing people into EVs, they're saying, maybe cars aren't the end-all, be-all. And they're right. Cars aren't the end-all, be-all, nor should they be. But the idea is we're pushing in the right direction. We're not going for perfection first. I know there's a whole F-cars movement that says we need to get away from the whole idea of needing an automobile entirely, and that's fair. But that would require 100 years of construction to be undone. And that's difficult. That's a tough sell. And what do you want to do? Tear down the cities? That's not very green. No, we need to make the best of what we have and what we can do with it. Tesla owner apologizes after admitting to lying about brake failure. Tesla's going after owners in China who put together a misinformation campaign about its vehicle's brakes. Now, this may come as one heck of a surprise, you guys, but the person who said that the car accelerated on its own was lying. Huh. Yeah. The situation became so dire that Tesla's cars were banned from certain areas for safety concerns. Elon guides the company. He doesn't do everything, but he's the guy who points the ship in the right direction. The captain of the ship, if you will. Not the guy shoveling the coal or tying down the ropes, but he knows how those things are done. And if there's one thing we know about Elon, is that he will not back down from a legal challenge unless he absolutely must. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. Most times it works, but at the very least, it's a good way of sending the message that random lawsuits will not be tolerated. Or random legal nonsense, shenanigans, not tolerated. So they went through the black box and found that, no, he was one pedal driving. After the accident, I was upset, though I knew I had pressed the accelerator instead of the brake. Yeah. And everyone saw that coming, because it's an easy mistake to make. When my son was learning to drive, he made the same mistake. He had let off the gas and was kind of using it as one pedal driving in an ICE car, a Kia. And when he wanted to hit the brake, he stomped the gas instead. Fortunately, I had my hand already on the emergency brake, and we got it figured out before we crashed. Very common human mistake to make. Now let's get into the places I was wrong. United, the rental company, orders more than 500 EVs from Ford. Not just the F-150 Lightning, but also a handful of the eTransit electric vans. I was wrong in saying that these would not be coming to the market and not be coming soon, certainly soon enough, but they're here and they're real. And so far, they seem to be doing okay. They're not really in hands, but they're being produced. And the fact that United is getting a bunch is a big deal. This is validation for the brand. And getting them in the hands of rentals means more and more people will be able to drive them, to know them, and to love them. 1 in 5 F-150 Lightnings is the cheap one, is a $40,000 Pro model. Ford says fleets are the core of its business, and that's why it's building plenty of base models targeting business owners. This is where I was definitely wrong. I was just sure. Now, I still believe that these are loss leaders, or at the very best, they're just barely breaking even, but I still think they're loss leaders. But they're making them, and they're selling them. Yeah. The top-of-the-line ones have MSRPs as high as $90,000. That could offset the $40,000 Pro variant. I think that's a huge deal for these contractors. They're not being left out. They're not being forgotten. Fleets are going to struggle to get as many as they want, but they're going to get some. They're not being left out entirely. And I was definitely wrong about that. Ford F-150 Lightning seen stockpiled at Dearborn Test Track. Or is it a chip shortage? Who knows? This happened to the ICE versions as well. This is not something unique to the electric drivetrain. Production began in April. But instead of all those pickups being in the hands, it seems a good chunk of them are being stockpiled. It's not a big deal. It'll be fine. These will be moved shortly. This is not new. It's not new to Ford. Tesla had a stockpile of models S and X out on their test track, in Fremont as well. This just kind of happens sometimes. Just taking a look at the chat. By the way, some of my regulars should get in touch with me about becoming moderators on the chat. That's something I assume, need help with at some point. Haven't had many trolls in here, or people. But that will change. Here's another one where I was wrong. New Ford 2023 Transit van brings 236-mile range. Now, this is in Europe, so it's probably the WLTP standard, or certainly not the EPA's. It's a more forgiving standard. But even still, if you're going to be able to get 180, 200 miles, the current Transit van only has a range of like 100, 125 miles. It's not very good for most people, but it doesn't have to be, because most people aren't buying them. It's not even designed for most people yet. It's designed for very narrow, limited use cases. And in those cases, it works. Otherwise, they wouldn't buy it. But by doubling the range, it more than doubles the addressable market. It's going to be great. And I was wrong about that. Boy, was I wrong about that. So I am absolutely excited. Ford, it seems, is getting their business together. As a reminder, no bear today. We are bear-free. The 100-acre woods is very quiet. Ford is selling 8 million shares of once high-flying EV maker Rivian, sources say. Now, 8 million is not even a majority of its shares. JP Morgan Chase also plans to sell a share block between 13 and 15 million. Rivian stock is having some problems. But that doesn't mean Rivian itself is having problems. Ford owns 102 million shares. Ford will be selling them through Goldman Sachs. So maybe not on the open market. I don't know. There was a lockup period after it going public, when insiders could not sell their shares, it has expired. So maybe it's just fundraising, but boy, are they losing their butts on it. So let's take a look at Rivian stock. Ooh, 22.79 from a high. So it's down 77% from IPO. That's IPO, right? Yeah. And from an all-time high, it's down 86%. But how's Ford doing? Same period. Well, if we go to November, down 30%, up 15% on the year, so that's pretty good. But let's look at this is the Invesco Triple Q, which follows the NASDAQ, down 7.5% over the past year. And since November, go about here, yeah, down 24.5%, almost 25%. A lot of doom and gloom in the market right now. Fundamentals haven't changed. So not much to, I would say, if you're a long-term investor, not much to worry about. There are not better investments to get. Well, I should get into real estate. Mortgage rates are going up. I don't know if you're going to see the kind of double-digit appreciation we've seen in recent years, which was largely fueled by very low-cost mortgage rates. Mercedes is virtually sold out of EVs. Is that good? I'd argue it is. For that matter, Volkswagen EVs are sold out. And if Bear was here, like he was last week, he would tell you that Volvo is also sold out. The Polestar is also sold out. That's a big deal. Everybody is selling out. And this isn't just necessarily for EVs. This is for all vehicles. A lot of ICE vehicles are also sold out for the 2022 model year, because the new model year comes out in, September? Sometimes even August? For that matter, Elon Musk warns Tesla may stop taking orders on some of its vehicles due to ridiculous demand. That would be a first. They keep jacking up prices and the orders just keep coming in. It's a lot. It's a big deal. Now, it would be nice if the demand was that high in a world of unbridled supply. But supply is really constrained. And that's difficult and unfortunate. Lucid, this is another one where I was a little off, makes European debut with €218 Air Dream Edition. Only a limited number. And the base price will be about €100,000. Will it? On that remains to be seen. Lucid is absolutely struggling with cash burn and their ability to keep their operating costs in check. Pretty car, though. Lucid delivers just 360 EVs in Q1. Price hikes loom after $600 million operating loss. That's a big operating loss. You'd not need to sell that many cars to make it up, though. Although everyone you sell also incurs more operating costs. I'm skeptical about the future of Lucid, in large part due to just how aggressively Peter Rawlinson has been cashing out his shares. He's pulled out tens of millions. Here's where I was wrong. Rivian R1S spotted in the wild. It's just a test version, but the fact that they've got it at all suggests to me it's coming, and it's coming soon. I wish this was a design they actually sold for it. I think it'd sell better. I mean, yeah, you can get whatever wrap you want, but once you get into patterns, the wraps get a little expensive. 5 things to know about the all-electric Toyota BuzzForks. It's cool. It's performance, peace of mind. Oh, and also, when the temperature gets below 32, you can't charge it. May not be possible below -4 Fahrenheit. Well, that rules out a lot of northern climates. This is an all-wheel drive car. That's where people want something like that. The ability to charge in cold weather. So that's frustrating. China. Made in China Tesla wholesale shipments collapsed in April. Lockdown brought the factory to a halt. If you follow EVs, you probably know this. If you follow Tesla, you definitely know this. The plant was basically closed all month. If you are one of my patrons, you've seen the weekly construction updates, and you can see that there hasn't been any Shanghai news in a while. In a month or more. Production resumed, but only on a limited scale. And while they were able to make 10,000 in the month, they were only able to ship to customers 1,500, 94% less than 1 year ago. However, if we go back 2 years, it's almost on par. In January of 2020, they only sold 2,600. Not bad. So, for a plant that's closed, in a city that's closed, in a country that's partially closed, still good numbers. And they do have manufacturing workers back on the lines doing some work, but not at full speed. On the plus side, 183,000 units in the first 4 months of 2020, compared to half that a year ago. So even with the shutdown, they're doing good-ish. But that's all right, because they will get right back up to speed. 97.7% drop in vehicle sales. Yep, that's what happens when you close your factory. But again, they're already back up to speed. Oh, wait. Tesla halts most output again, because now they've run out of parts. Not entirely, just some parts. And it turns out, to build a complete car, you need all the parts. It's weird. Just ship them without seats. I don't think people will notice. Our data shows most people don't even use the back seat. Cut them. Would it surprise you? We call this the pizza delivery variant. Yeah, this bad boy can fit so many hot pizzas in it. Tesla did not respond to a request for comment. Well, that's just disingenuous. They don't have a PR department, so I don't know what you want me to say. What did you expect to happen? Is this just a macro that's automatically filled in? Come on, guys. Paul says, they don't really need that wiring harness. Yeah. How many wires could you need in an electric vehicle? So this is interesting. Why is North Carolina building a Vietnamese car? Vin Group. Ever heard of it? They make EVs, or they're about to. This is kind of overlooked. Big old factory. Kind of flying under the radar. They've got decent funding. The prototypes seem decent. They're cute. They're reasonably good performing. There's no reason this can't happen. When I said who to look for EVs, I said Tesla, of course. I said Europe, of course. And I said China, of course. I did not say Vietnam. So hopefully this works out. More competition is always good. Oh, this is fun. Why are electric batteries so heavy? Well, I don't know if you know, but They just are. They're still in their early days, and they just plain are. On here, they're suggesting that the 600 kilowatt hour battery of a Tesla Semi could weigh almost 8,000 pounds. That's making some assumptions that are not necessarily supported. That's based on 18650 cells, 18650s, the old cells, not the 2170s. It's based on a different pack architecture, and it's based on taking 6 P100D packs and just adding it up. It'll be less than this. And for that matter, Elon said, no, it's actually going to be a 500 kilowatt hour battery. So right there, you can take a good chunk of it off, 15-20%, another 15-20% for pack architecture efficiencies. It's still going to be a real heavy boy. But if you can get it down to a couple tons, you're back in the range of what a drivetrain would cost for internal combustion. And especially if you add in the weight of a couple big old diesel tanks. Now, those do go down in weight as you drive farther distances, but they're still heavy half the time. I'm not going to get political. I don't get political. Musk says he would reverse Twitter's ban of Donald Trump. I don't know if he would. He likes to troll a little bit. Elon Musk is wrong. Research shows content rules on Twitter help preserve free speech from bots and other manipulation. Opening up the floodgates entirely would be a bad thing. We know his first objective is to crack down on the bots, specifically the crypto bots. There's a challenge to that. And cracking down on them will crack down on other forms too. But he even said he wouldn't return to Twitter, even if his account is reinstated. So let's get back to he does a little trolling. Elon was on the President's Council for Technology in 2017. He was the first of the industry leaders to abandon that group, saying, it's not effective, we're not being heard, we're not meeting frequently enough, nothing is happening. And shortly thereafter, a lot of people left. If he does some trolling, wouldn't it be juicy for him to say, I'll let you back on if you want, but you have to tell me you want. And then he would say, I want. And then he'd say, actually, we reviewed it and it's a no. Because again, Elon does some trolling. He loves the trolling. You got to consider how many big name channels only got into Cyber Rodeo as a +1. Not even directly invited. Big names, not even invited. TeslaCon asked him to do a surprise appearance, and he didn't respond. They asked him to do a Zoom meeting or even a pre-taped little thing. Nothing. Now, does Elon think that the guys at TeslaCon are a bunch of jackwads? I don't know. I have no way of knowing that. I don't think so. I've met a lot of those guys, and I would say 2 of them were jerks, maybe out of hundreds. But he likes to do some trolling. It's kind of his jam. I don't know if that's going to happen. Regardless of what's said, I don't know if that's going to happen. Elon does say he's going to find a way to squeeze more value out of Twitter, and I have 100% confidence that is something he can do. 40% of Bitcoin investors are now underwater. It's down 55% from its November peak, and 40% of holders have lost money. The past month alone, 15%. There's an interesting chart here. If we go back a year, look at that. It's kind of fallen off a cliff there. Tough to say what's going on. If it goes down enough, there will be an impairment that shows on the books for Tesla, but we're not there yet. I'm surprised. I am very surprised that it has gone down as far as it has. I thought over 30 would be a comfortable floor, but I know very little about Bitcoin, and I don't follow it super closely. MD Hofsty says, when over 300,000 people would call me a troll, I think I have to live with it. Yeah. And it's not a label he despises necessarily. Here's at Elon Musk on Tesla's decision to open up its Tesla Supercharging network to electric vehicles from other brands. So he has said that CCS, Elon has said that CCS will be made available at all Supercharger locations. That would be a big deal. I'd made a video once saying that that would not happen, and then we found out that there could be good money on the line for that, and I reversed my decision. I had to, because once money is available for charging, for building out the charger network, it just makes sense. So that's something that apparently is coming. Tesla recalls 130,000 vehicles due to CPU overheating, but the fix is again over the air. We've got to come up with a different term for over-the-air recalls. A recall used to mean you'd probably never find out about it. If you did, you'd probably struggle to get an appointment, and if you did, the fix would be ham-fisted at best. I had a friend who had a 2000-something Taurus where there was a problem that the fuel gauge could read that you still have fuel when you're bone dry and run out. So he brought it in for the fix, and all they did was adjusted the needle. And he's like, well, great. So now when it says I'm on empty, I still have like a quarter tank. You've effectively, due to providing only poor data, made my tank effectively a quarter smaller, because now I have to guess how much fuel I have left. That's not a good fix. That is worse than the original. Well, maybe not worse than the original problem, but it's not much better. Tesla explains its approach to sourcing lithium, nickel, and cobalt directly from mines in impressive detail. Tesla's going not to the cell providers to say, give me cheaper cells. They're going straight to the mineral providers, to the miners, and saying, give me better prices, which I can then allocate to the cell producers, who may be us, who may not be us. The prices are skyrocketing, and we're going through different steps to approach it and try and find better ways to keep our price in check. Stellantis chief warns of battery shortages as car makers switch to electric. Oh, you're just figuring this out? You're just figuring this out? You've been buying ZEV credits from Tesla for years, and you're just figuring this out. Oh, dumb. Genuinely dumb. We're doing real good on time. We're going to get into questions here real quick. Let me do a quick thanks for my Patreons. We get early access, bonus content, all that good stuff. While we're doing this, I'm going to put on this video real quick, let it run for a second, because I have got to close this door or I'm going to have a problem here in about a minute. And I'm back. And I'm back. Just had to run and deal with that. So let's get into the questions, you guys. What do we want to talk about? Anything? Anything? Yes, the 2170 cell is in Model 3. I did mean the 4680. Thank you for that correction. Party time. Party time. Okay, he's gone. Party time. Yeah, we have some fun. Still getting my lighting dialed in. Pretty happy with the way this looks. Oh, let's take a look. A lot of hellos. Train and bus stations are dumb. Point to robo-taxis for the win. I think train and bus stations are great, but the parking is inadequate. There were times when I had a job that started later than 8:30 a.m., and I would be unable to use the park and ride because there was no parking. If the park and ride didn't need parking and my car could go home, I think a lot of people would use the commuter trains and buses from the suburbs and just avoid it all. Yeah, but those get so full. Great. Add a couple. Just add a couple. Oh dear. Some very interesting comments here. Hello, Casey. Good to see you. MD Hofsey says, I like trolls. I am one, according to people who live in the fish, aka yuppers. Those are all words. I recognize what all of them mean, just not in that order. Ah, the mitten is shaped like a fish. Word on the street is that ear was tranquilized. Oh, that bear was tranquilized outside the Nikola factory earlier today. That or he's on a cruise. Either way. I think, like all animals that hit a certain age, he went to a farm upstate. Hello, Daniel. Good to see you. The mighty Mackinac. John's Touchpad said some car companies might bring out the 2023 model year in July. Yeah, and especially this year, if all your 2022s are sold out, even if your 2023s won't be ready in July or August or September, might as well get those reservations in early. It certainly helps with logistics and planning. It helps with financing. It helps with a lot of things. So that is a very good point, John. Or rather, the touchpad belonging to John. Paul rightly points out you could buy a lot of Tesla stock for 218,000 euros. Yeah. And I don't even know if you could get the Lucid for 218,000 euros. It's entirely possible that there would be a handful of them sold at that price, and then you'd have to buy it used for significantly more. There's a lot of cars on the used market selling for way above new price. Ooh, Lucid has them. It's a 10% import tax. Oh yeah, Europe has the import tax. Yeah, Paul, Buzzforks. Buzzforks. I don't know how you pronounce it. How do you guys pronounce that? I think it's right. Getting to see how my layers work. MD Hofsey correctly points out in 2015, Tesla lost $889 million, but sold 50,000 vehicles. Whoa, gosh, that's true. And Lucid is expanding very rapidly. As soon as that massive expansion of the factory is finished, they're going to have to start counting the expense on their balance sheet. And that's going to be, the depreciation on that building is going to be massive. I assume this is in reference to the Buzzforks not being chargeable below freezing. That won't go over big here in Canada. No, it won't. John says that Tesla China plant 2 days ago is starting up the second shift. That would be great. Again, if we're missing parts, though, it's problematic. But if everything else in the area is shut down, there's plenty of available parking space to put 99% finished vehicles waiting for that last part, if it's something that can be added without too much pain. Missing parts. That reminds me of a movie about a Japanese takeover of a U.S. auto plant. That was starring, what's his name? Birdman. You know who I mean. Beetlejuice. What's his name? And the movie was called Gung Ho. What's his name? You guys will tell me. Yeah, there it is. Gung Ho. VinFast. Oh, yeah. 18650. Thank you. Daniel wants to know, can I be your troll? I'd prefer not. I'm just not a fan of it. Doing good on time. Doing ridiculously good on time. It'd be nice to crack down on the fake YouTubers as well. This is an absolute plague. An absolute plague. And YouTube doesn't... I don't know what steps they take. They certainly don't publicize any. But it does not appear to be remotely effective. I have a bunch of additional protections put in place to stop fakers on my channels. And it mostly works, but not entirely. Especially those goddamn crypto scammers. They are relentless. But one's trying to show adult sites as well, and fake dating sites and all that good stuff. Maybe they're real dating sites, who knows? But if they were real, I think they would not need to resort to spam. Whoop, it jumped on me, jumped. Casey says, I've never been to Michigan. I live in Washington. Howdy, neighbor. Digital Blade Canada, how about existing over-the-air update term? Yeah, why don't we use that? Or patch. It's software. It's a patch. Okay, he's gone. We're back to this part. Have I watched the Elon Musk interview at Financial Times today? I have not seen it yet. I was actually busy with this, and I am very sad that I haven't seen that. Any guesses as to when the next factory announcement will be? We've already got it. It's going to be in Shanghai. If you mean the next one outside of markets where they already have a factory, no guess. My guess would be this year would be the announcement. And I made, a series of videos trying to predict where it would be. And as much as I love India and would love it to be there, their government appears far too intransigent to make it happen. So I believe the answer would be maybe Canada, maybe even Japan. Tough to say. Impossible, really. Any bets on when Tesla will bottom out so we can buy the dip? Nope. Nope. Oh, our favorite short seller, William Gates, has tested positive. Yeah, I imagine he tested positive because he tested. I bet a bunch of us have had it and didn't even know it, especially if we were vaxxed and boosted. There was a podcast for Always Sunny in Philadelphia where one of them said that he had gotten it and he would never have known except that they had daily mandatory testing on set. Michael Keaton, that's right. Couldn't think fast enough. We got 20 minutes to go. We don't have to use it all. We can call this a day whenever. If there's anyone in here who didn't get their hello, you have to tell me. Wendelin, hello. Good to see you. Wendelin was awesome enough to make the graphics for the swag at the meet and greet. Cool stuff. Super cool. Isn't that beautiful? Wendelin does fantastic work. Yeah. I think I've got the last one here too. Yep. What did I miss or misunderstand? Nothing. Texas. 100%. Thank you again, Wendelin. That was very, very awesome of you. And if anybody wants these, I don't know, ask. Maybe I'll mail you one. And Wendelin, I have to mail you some. If you want to give me your address on Patreon, I can send that. Do you think Tesla would beat their second quarter? Do you mean first quarter? Do I think Tesla's second quarter will beat first quarter? I do not. I think the production loss from Shanghai is too large to be overcome by Texas and Berlin. Yeah. I bought hundreds of these and gave them out like crazy. You can see me. There's videos on one or both channels of me just giving them out. I should have had someone in charge of that. Yep. So good. I think beating Q1 is going to be difficult. But over the 5-year horizon, it doesn't matter. One thing I would like to talk about is people are panic selling right now. And if you have short-term positions, options in either direction, maybe you should be getting out of that. And maybe you should not get back into them because that's gambling. But if you're in for the long term, 5 years, 10 years, blips like this occur fairly regularly. And they, if you look at the even big corrections, like the housing crash of 2008, prices eventually came back from that. And if you had sold your house during the crash and then tried to buy it back after that, you'd have had a bad time. So what about Texas and Berlin? Do I think that it could be a surprise? He didn't say he could put a rabbit out, that he could pull a rabbit out of the hat. It's possible. Texas production looks quite low. Berlin production still looks quite low. And we lost 50 to 70,000 production units out of Shanghai. If Shanghai went back to full speed today, which they can't, Texas and Berlin would have to make 35,000 each to get back on track, which is difficult. Apparently, Fremont is running 10 to 15% above Q1. That could make up for it. If Q2 beats Q1 in production, hold on to your butts. Because that means Q3 is going to be bananas. David signed up for the time of day discount in Portland and now charge my car for 6.5 cents a kilowatt. That's great. 6.5. National average is, I think, 10.5. I know in the Northwest, you can get under 8 in a lot of places. But 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour overnight, fantastic. You just got a 20-30% discount on your cost per mile driven. Mr. Nelson thinks Q2 is going to be the same as Q1, or maybe a little bit better. Paul says all short-term problems, little effect on the company long-term. And that's the truth. If you want to dump your way out of a stock, you have to consider, have the fundamentals changed? You can look at Netflix and say, now is the time to sell because I believe the fundamentals have changed. Not necessarily me. I don't invest in Netflix and I don't give investment advice. But I can see why people would believe it's no longer a good investment. There are too many other streaming options. The price keeps going up. Customers are less happy than ever. They're finally losing subscribers. The fundamentals have changed. On all these electric cars we talked about, Lucid, have the fundamentals changed? Not really. Rivian? Not really. Now on those, I believe they were, at their peak, massively overvalued. People were buying on speculation. Those were tulip bulbs, if you will. But the fundamentals haven't changed. If you believed in it then, you should believe in it now. They are struggling with ramping because and I feel like someone famous may have said this, production's really hard. Elon made it sound like it's not out of the question for Q2 to beat Q1. It's not out of the question, especially with Fremont running as hot as it is. It's not out of the question, but it will be super hard. What keeps blowing me away is how many items and parts keep going into Gigafactory Texas. Me too. I mentioned that in a comment on, I want to say, Joe's video, how even though the factory is producing and ramping, and it has so much equipment in it, you just keep seeing more equipment show up in every section except the Southwest, where the Cybertruck is expected to be built. That means capacity is increasing. They're still adding more capacity, and they're adding a lot all the time. Today, Elon was asked if he will buy another car company. He said no, but he did say that if FSD goes out before anyone else and it's safe, he would sell it to other car companies. So I have two thoughts on that. The first is, whoever gets a true level 5 that is broadly available, that is not just locally optimized, but truly works everywhere all the time, that company is going to have a massive first mover advantage. But if it's Waymo or Cruise or even Mobileye, it's going to take them years to actually get that product to market. You've got to design cars around it. You got to make it. You've got to build cars, and then you got to sell cars. You got to design them, build them, sell them. Whereas if Tesla cracks it, if Tesla is a year or two behind the first mover, they've already got 2 million cars on the road that can handle this. That's billions of dollars in over-the-air update sales available with essentially no marginal cost. But if Tesla is the first to level 5, to the moon, baby, to the moon. MD Hofsty says probably less than half the factory is filled. Joe Tetmeyer had a great video where he explained that of all the videos you saw from inside, from Cyber Rodeo, that only covered about 10% of the factory. A lot of the rest of the factory is indeed empty, or within a rounding error of empty. Paul said Waymo's sensor suite is too big and expensive. Yes, but if self-driving is worth 50 grand, it doesn't matter if the sensors cost 30 grand. And economies of scale. If you're building 5 million of them, you get a better price. I don't think Lucid could sell 12 to 14,000 cars this year. That means they have to sell over 3,000 each quarter for the rest of the year. Yeah. Hey, Tech Fixer. Glad you could make it. Greenpad, hello. When level 4 or 5 happens, the world will change forever in front of our eyes on a daily basis. Yeah. It'll be as big, I think, as the Industrial Revolution, but faster. As big as the information age dawning, except faster. Elon was asked who's in second place in EVs as a car company, and he said Volkswagen. I would agree. Would you not agree? I think that's absolutely true, Mr. Nelson. All right. Well, we're at 50-ish minutes. I think that's enough. I miss you, Bear. I'm sure you're watching this from your solitary confinement, which is where I believe he is. Bear will be back next week. He'll be back later this week on his channel with updates, as he always do. Give him a subscribe if you haven't. Give me a subscribe if you haven't. This channel is struggling to get monetized. We're at, what are we at? 100 days? No, worse. Much worse. I don't recall. I can see if I can check without changing screens. We're at 97 days on this channel and only 600 subscribers. That's an average of 15 a day. Considering I have 16,000 on my main channel. All right, it's fine. Mr. Nelson says, people don't understand how difficult it is to do full self-driving. Yes, a lot of the critics love to say, Elon promised this years ago. Guess what? Everybody did. Everybody did. Everyone working in vehicle autonomy was just sure this would be cracked years ago, because the S-curve is brutal and the long tail of hitting 100% is so far impossible. So thank you guys. Thank you everybody. Casey, Tech Fixer, Paul. Thank you everybody. Mr. Nelson, Greenpad, Wendelin. Thank you all. All right. Thank you guys so much. If you're still here, what did I miss or misunderstand? Let me know in them comments. Give me all your juicy wisdom, blind and brilliance. Stay tuned. Stay juicy. Bear and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the flippity flop.